Okay, so we are right outside of the visitor center here in Petersburg, and this is Battery 5 that you see in the distance right in front of us. And this is where the first major attacks against Petersburg will occur, and this is going to mark the beginning of 9.5 months of siege warfare. And really it wasn't a siege, it was more like trench warfare. But this is Battery 5 on the Confederate Demlock line. There was a total of around 55 of these. 55 of these surrounding the outskirts of Petersburg and Petersburg itself. And this is going to be captured by Federals on June the 15th, 1864. And this is where Union troops in this immediate area are going to attack the battery and position the Dictator, the large mortar that is 13 inches in diameter across this barrel, and it's going to be a seacoast mortar that's going to be utilized here to fire on Confederate positions across the Appomattox River. And if we look here, this is a photo of Dictator, but this is the large 13-inch seacoast mortar, and you could, as you can see here, this thing is massive. So, but yeah, this is where it's all going to start, right here at Battery 5 in Petersburg on June the 15th, 1864. So I thought this was really cool as you come into the Visitor Center Museum. Well, you have this awesome display around a circle which contains a film inside of what Petersburg would have looked like after the battle on the ground. So you can see a cannon carriage, some jackets, guns, different things strewn about the ground. A cannon there, barrel, worm, crushing cowbops, shoes. Pretty cool. So, if you guys can ever come to Petersburg, well, this is what the visitor center looks like. I don't want to show you everything. I want to leave something for you to come see for yourself. But here's some shells, original shells. Those are 12-pounders. And then this is a 30-pound Parrott case shot. The thing had a range of a little over a mile. And then a 10-inch mortar. And then right in the middle, you see canister shot. And this is basically a shotgun inside of a cannon. So if you guys have been watching this channel for any length of time, you know one of my major obsessions is artillery. And right outside of the Petersburg Visitor Center here in Petersburg, Virginia, you have cannons everywhere. Yeah, this is definitely a playground for me. So one thing a lot of people don't realize about Petersburg is it's also going to serve more of a purpose than just during the Civil War. Here, during World War I, you're going to have American troops who are going to train here in an area called Camp Lee. And in this area immediately before me is some of the remnants of Camp Lee where these soldiers trained during World War I. And if you walk through here, you can see the trench systems. Now, what better of a fitting place to train for World War I and trench warfare than a place where trench warfare was kind of born here in Petersburg. So it is really a cool experience to be in this area. And you can see right here one of the trenches here. Man, this is this is so cool to see a World War I trench system here in Petersburg, where trench warfare happened during the Civil War. And if you look, and I don't know if you could tell on camera, this thing zigzags all the way through here. So if we were to hop down in here, which I'm not going to do, but if we were to hop down in here, this is going to be the same trenches where these guys are going to train to go overseas to places like France and fight against the Germans during the Great War. So pretty cool. 2 wars in one single location. So here's another quick glance at the trenches here where these World War I American soldiers train, and they extend all the way through these woods further. But yeah, this is really something else. Okay, so not all Civil War sites in Petersburg or any other battlefield in that sense is always preserved. So not everywhere you go is going to have some kind of preservation behind it. And right behind me, well, this is the 1909 monument to the Pennsylvania men. Let's take a look at it. So this is the monument that honors the All Pennsylvania 3rd Division of the 9th Corps. And this monument also highlights the area of Fort Mahone, which was the target of the 9th Corps' attacks on April the 2nd, 1865. And this monument was erected in 1909 in memory of the All Pennsylvania 3rd Division of the 9th Corps. And the fort that was here in this location, which you can see now, is all residential area and business area, was named for Confederate General William Mahone. And Fort Mahone was called Fort Damnation by the Federals, who fell up under the fire of his guns. The fort in this location that you're seeing around me now gave a hellacious fire to men such as these Pennsylvania men who were tasked with attacking these positions. So yeah, as you can see, here's the monument right in the middle of a busy intersection, and this is a monument professional building, and then well, this is a bank. Okay, so right now we have moved to the middle of Petersburg, Virginia, and this is the farmers market. This is not the original farmers market that was here at the time of the war. There have been several here since, and even probably a couple before the war. But this is the center of town. This is the center of life here in Petersburg. The railroad station or depot is right here behind us, right through these trees. And this is going to actually be considered for the seat of Confederacy at one point. This building that sat in this exact spot was considered for the Confederate government seat at one point. But during the war, this was the farmers market. This is the center of town. There have been other structures built here since then, but this is the same as that spot, and still today it's called the farmers market. Now, the citizens of Petersburg, upon the surrender of the city, were very distraught. They thought life as itself was ending. The Union would come in and just make their life basically a living you-know-what. So people in this vicinity, as a Union Army entered, they will enter in this area, and they will be greeted by some of the African American and the free African American people, some of the slaves here. It was jubilant to them, and they would greet the Union soldiers as they come in, but they would get snide looks from the citizens of Petersburg itself. And this is one of the main areas where the Union soldiers come in when they actually captured the city of Petersburg and come in for the first time. So pretty cool to see this spot here 160 years and one day later to the start of things and the Battle of the Crater here at Petersburg. Of course, this went fall to April of 1865. So next year, next April, the April coming up is the of 2025 will be the 160th anniversary of the Union Army coming into this spot. All right, so as you excuse my messed up hair here from hat here, we are going to take a look at the last spot here we're going to see in Petersburg. And it's a fitting last spot because this is where the war is actually going to start coming to an end after the siege of Petersburg, which leads to the surrender of the city of Richmond. And then a few days later, almost a week later, the final surrender of Grant and Lee at Appomattox, Virginia. The house you see behind me is the Wallace Hall. And let's talk a little bit about what happens here in March and April of 1865. So on March the 24th, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln is going to reach a place called City Point, just on the outskirts of Petersburg. Now, he's going to be up under the invitation from General Ulysses S. Grant. Now, the General-in-Chief thought that his Commander-in-Chief would like to be near the seat of war as Grant prepares to launch his final spring offensive here in Petersburg. Now, as a result of that offensive, Robert E. Lee will evacuate Petersburg on April the 2nd, 1865, and Union troops will occupy the city early the next morning on April the 3rd, 1865. Grant will then send word to President Lincoln that the situation here in Petersburg is good. Petersburg is going to fall, and Abraham Lincoln will leave City Point to come here to Petersburg, and Lincoln and his son Tad and some other members of the military and of his bodyguards and things like that will come right here to this location. Grant would be sitting on the front porch of this home. He would descend down these front steps as Lincoln comes up the front steps to this house. Now, the owner of the home would invite them in. They would decline the offer, and they would sit on this front porch, perhaps right here on the left side of the porch, for just over 90 minutes, discussing the situation, reconstruction, and what would happen after the surrender of the Confederacy. So they will sit here, smoke cigars, discuss everything that's happened, discuss everything that will happen, and they are hoping to hear word that Richmond has given up. Now, Grant will leave here before that word is reached here, and then Lincoln would come through the city. He would talk to some of the freed African Americans that's in town, and they will shake his hand. But the end of the Civil War will start to dwindle down in this exact spot. This is single-handedly one of the most important places in American Civil War history. This is where Grant and Lincoln would meet and make plans for the surrender of the Confederate States of America, right here in this house. So it's only fitting that we end this episode here in Petersburg, right here where the war is going to start to end. And of course, about a week later, a little less, the surrender would be signed in Appomattox, Virginia. So from here at Petersburg, keep preserving history, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next adventure. Let's go.